All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hello there. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the zoning administrator for the city of San Clemente to order. My name is Cecilia Gallardo Daly, and I am the zoning administrator. The first item on the agenda are the minutes to receive and file. So I will go ahead and receive and file the minutes of the zoning administrator meeting of January 21, 2021. The next item on the agenda is oral and written communication. This is the time on the agenda when members of the audience may address the zoning administrator on any item within the jurisdiction of the zoning administrator that is not on the zoning administrator agenda. Speakers can submit their comments on agenda items to the zoning administrator electronically, and that material may be emailed to www.san-clemente.org/ZA public comment, all one word, period. And we prefer that the transmittal be received by noon on the day of the zoning administrator meetings. It's recommended but not required. And when we receive those communications, we will read them into the record. However, the zoning administrator is not permitted to discuss or take action on any items that do not appear on the agenda. It looks like we don't have any oral or written communications at this time. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public hearings. This is a public hearing process that includes a staff presentation, a presentation by the applicant not to exceed 10 minutes, and public testimony not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker. So we do have one public hearing item today, and it is an amendment to a cultural heritage permit at 212 South Cayey, Seville. We'll have our staff planner, Kyle Weber, give us a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Cecilia. The applicant for the project and owner for the existing duplex located at 212 Cayey, Seville is requesting an amendment to a cultural heritage permit, which was approved by the Planning Commission in November of 2019. The project site is an existing 4,700 square foot corner lot with an existing 1,600 square foot duplex that is legal non-conforming due to the portions of the building that encroach into the street side and rear yard setback area. The site abuts a historic residence at 210 Cayey, Seville, and is within 300 feet of 6 other historical residential properties, also located in the same residential high zoning district, where other 2- and 3-story single-family and multifamily residences exist in the neighborhood as well. The applicant is proposing, with the amendment to the CHP, to remove the originally proposed second-story addition, which will decrease the height of the proposed building closer to the height of the building that exists on site, which is 1 story. Because the applicant is proposing to decrease the height of the building, the project design is proposing an increase of the approved additional square footage on the first floor, which will be modified from 115 square feet to 205 square feet. The previously approved design proposed to relocate the 2 existing attached single-car garages farther away from the street side yard line to minimize the existing encroachment into the street side yard setback. However, the project now proposes through the amendment to maintain the existing location of the 2 single-car garages on site. The originally approved CHP did not require the decrease in the encroachment. It was voluntary from the applicant's design for the project. So the design of the project is not required, but has voluntarily incorporated traditional Spanish colonial revival architecture of the building, which was an effort to match the surrounding historical residences in the neighborhood. The design review subcommittee reviewed the proposed changes to the project on December 23rd of last year, and DRC was in support of the changes, especially considering the decrease in height of the building will have less of an impact on the abutting historic property at 210 Cayey, Seville. A minor exception permit to allow a retaining wall and hedges above the allowed 42 inches in height was approved with the original cultural heritage permit, as well as a sidewalk waiver approved by the engineering and city manager, which neither the permit, the minor exception permit, or the sidewalk waiver is proposed with the amendment. No changes are proposed with either of those today. So staff believes that the required findings to approve the amendment for the CHP can be made because the project abuts a historic residence without having any potential to cause a negative visual or physical impact upon the historic structure. The additional square footage proposed will maintain the non-conforming side yard setback while expanding closer to the rear of the property, which is permitted as long as the increase in floor area is less than 50% of the total floor area, and also less than 50% of the exterior walls of the structure are proposed to be altered or removed, which is the case for this project. The site is not within the architectural overlay district, and therefore the general plan design guidelines do not prescribe to the proposed style of architecture. However, the design was reviewed by by DRSC, and they confirmed the project's consistency with the design guidelines nonetheless. So therefore, staff recommends approval of the resolution presented for the Walter residence remodel and addition, and recommends to the zoning administrator to be exempt from CEQA guidelines, and approve the resolution presented today as Exhibit A in the staff report. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Great presentation. Let's see, I just want to verify a couple of things that you mentioned in your staff report. So this is in the coastal zone. However, it's not required to be reviewed by the Coastal Commission or obtain a coastal development permit because it's located in the coastal exclusion order area. Correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. And no changes are proposed for the already approved minor exception permit or sidewalk waiver.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, and the city's landscape consultant reviewed and approved the preliminary landscape plans for the project. Is that also correct?
That's correct. The existing landscape proposed is compliant with the coverage standards for multi-family dwelling units on site, and that's correct. The consultant did approve it.
Okay, thank you. And then I just, I wanted to get clarification on an item in here. So on page 7 of the staff report, one of the bullets, it's actually the second full bullet on page 7 of the staff report. And you went over this in your presentation. It says that in the middle of that bullet, less than 50% of the exterior walls are proposed to be altered or removed. So it's a less than 50% removal or alteration of the walls for this project.
That's right. They're proposing to remove less than 50% of the existing exterior walls.
Okay. Okay. And then on page, let's see. I guess this would be page 12 of the staff report. It's actually one of the findings. And it's at the top of that page, it's finding number 4. It says the nonconformity section of the zoning code allows for a nonconformity to remain when more than 50% of the exterior walls are altered, when the alterations improve the architecture's compatibility with the design guidelines, which is the case with this project. But it's actually less than, not more than, correct? Is that just a typo there?
Yes, and yes, that is. Well, I wouldn't say it's a typo. That is true for the zoning code. A nonconformity is allowed to remain when more than 50% of the exterior walls are altered, as long as it's an improvement to the architecture's compatibility However, the last part of that sentence is incorrect. That is not the case with this project because
It is not the case.
less than 50% of the exterior walls are altered.
Got it. Okay, just wanted to clarify that because it was just some conflicting information in the
Sure.
findings.
Apologies
Okay,
for that.
yeah, no problem. Thanks. And then the design review subcommittee reviewed this project and recommended approval of the changes. Correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions of staff. And Kyle, we don't have the applicant here to speak or address the zoning administrator on this item.
Not today.
Not today. Okay. All right. Okay. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. I believe we have one comment that was submitted on this item. This is, so I'll go ahead and read that into the record. This is from Pablo Marquez, and it's regarding this. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. This is for something different. This says South El Camino Real. So I don't believe this would, this applies to this project. Is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't see it in front of you.
I don't see it in front of me. I have not
Okay.
received any formal comments. I did receive a verbal comment from the San Quentin Historical Society, and they just wanted to express support of the design as well of the project. But this project is on Cayey, Seville. I'm not sure where South El Camino Real, where that comment's coming from.
Okay, well, I will read it, even though I don't believe it's applicable to this property, but it was submitted. It says regarding the proposed minor architectural permit 20-307 for the project located at 2316 South El Camino Real, I am in favor of the proposed fences, walls, and gates as requested by the owner of the aforementioned property. These additions to this property are more than likely necessitated by the need for heightened security due to transients, vagrants, drug addicts, homeless, etc., that are allowed to flourish in the south end of this town. This property is a nice addition to our city, and the owner should be able to preserve and protect his investment. SCHS class of 77 rules. Cheers, Pablo. Okay, I have a feeling this is for an item on a future agenda. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Well, I have reviewed the plans. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing now. I have reviewed the plans, the findings, and the conditions of approval. I agree with the comments of the Design Review Committee that the approved project design had a more imposing structure, and this proposed amendment request reduces the overall scale and massing of the residence. And I think it's more compatible with the historic property next door, certainly reduces the impact on that historic property. And the redesign is very respectful of the historic property next door and blends in very well with the neighborhood. So with that, I can make the findings for the cultural heritage permit. There are a number of findings that have to be made, so I'm going to go through those one by one. The architectural treatment of the project complies with the San Clemente General Plan and Coastal Land Use Plan. The proposed amendments to the project still provide high quality design, and the project will not have a negative visual or physical impact to the historic resource on the adjacent property. The architectural treatment of the project complies with the requirements of the zoning code. The proposed addition and remodel meets the development standards, other than the exceptions requested to maintain the non-conforming rear and side yard setbacks. The project doesn't exceed the height limit of the zone or the lot coverage allowed in the zone. And the proposed material colors are consistent with the design guidelines, including the white stucco walls and red clay tiles. The architectural treatment of the project complies with the architectural guidelines of the city's design guidelines. As I mentioned, the project proposes red clay tile roof, smooth white stucco, fiberglass clad windows with horizontal divided lights, awnings, and exposed wood structural members. The scale, mass, form, setbacks, and materials are compatible with adjacent structures and in character with the pattern of development in the neighborhood. There are 2 and 3-story single family and multifamily residential buildings in the neighborhood within the same block inside of the street. The massing, density, and scale of the project are consistent with the purpose and intent of the residential high-density zoning district in which this is located in. And the lot coverage and height of the zone, as I mentioned, are not being exceeded. The project also integrates indoor and outdoor spaces, pedestrian access, and landscape improvements consistent with the urban design element of the general plan, which encourages patios and outdoor spaces. The general appearance of the proposed project is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The proposed project provides a nice transition from the residential medium zone neighborhood to the north and east into the residential high zone, which this site is located in. The proposal will not be detrimental to the orderly and harmonious development of the city. The project will be required to meet the requirements of the California Building Code and the Orange County Fire Authority regulations. The project maintains use of the property as a duplex. The proposed building has high quality architecture consistent with Spanish colonial revival design. And the project sensitively steps back the massing from the front elevation that abuts the historic residence. The proposed structure will also not have negative visual or physical impacts upon the historic resource. The development reflects the context of the historic structure without obstructing views of the historic resource from the public right-of-way. The project provides a landscape plan to soften the appearance from the street. And lastly, as mentioned, the proposed project was reviewed by the Design Review Subcommittee, which serves as the city's Cultural Heritage Subcommittee, which assessed that the project scale and location are compatible with the neighborhood and would not impact the nearby historic property. So with that, I am going to determine that the project is categorically exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to CEQA guideline section 15301, class 1, existing facilities, and approve resolution ZA 21-002, which is an amendment to the Cultural Heritage Permit 20-353, an amendment to Cultural Heritage Permit 19-370, Walter remodel and addition, subject to the conditions of approval. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda, new business. Seeing none, I'll move on to the next item, which is old business. Seeing no old business items on the agenda, I will adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting of the zoning administrator to be held on Thursday, February 18th, 2021.